It was 8:47 in the morning when Dr. Malia Jefferson stepped out of her black Tesla and stood tall in front of the shimmering glass building that bore the name Dominion National Bank. The reflection of the sky danced on the windows as if mocking the storm that was about to erupt inside. Her crimson suit contrasted sharply against the corporate gray of Wall Street, a symbol of boldness in a place that often feared change. She carried no briefcase, only her phone in hand, and a silent confidence carved from years of being doubted, dismissed, and defied. Today was different. She had seen the signs, heard the whispers in the halls. But still, the red light that flashed when she tapped her keycard stung like betrayal. A second attempt. Red again, before she could try a third time, two uniformed guards appeared from inside the lobby. She recognized them both. They used to greet her with coffee and conversation. Now they stood like statues guarding a tomb. "Dr. Jefferson," one of them said without meeting her eyes. "We've been given strict orders. You're not allowed to enter the building." She tilted her head slightly, her voice calm. "On whose authority?" "The board," the second guard replied. "You've been removed as CEO, effective immediately." Malia's heart beat once, loud and deep. She didn't argue. She didn't beg. She simply looked up at the building she had built from the ground up. A bank that began in her living room with 2 laptops and a vision to serve the unbanked, the overlooked, the invisible. She took a slow breath, then smiled softly. "Tell them," she said, "that they've just opened the wrong door." She turned and walked away, heels clicking on concrete like drumbeats of war. 3 months ago, she'd noticed the change. Her board meetings had grown colder, the energy tense. Reports started vanishing. Decisions were made without her. Her CFO, David Reams, began hosting secret meetings with investors. A new legal team showed up on payroll without her signature. Something was shifting. She could feel the shadows sharpening. It wasn't about money. Dominion Bank had posted record-breaking profits for 6 straight quarters. It wasn't failure. It was fear. Fear of her power. Fear of what she represented. Black woman commanding billions. Leading in a space they thought belonged to them. And now? They had acted. But Malia had prepared for this day by the time she arrived at a private loft in Brooklyn an hour later. The team was already assembled. Engineers, analysts, cybersecurity specialists, former employees who had followed her into the unknown before. They stood when she walked in, eyes focused, waiting for her signal. "They've taken the building," she said. "Let's take the system." Dominion Bank still ran on a proprietary system called FinPulse. What the board didn't realize was that FinPulse was still legally owned by a private tech company also. Founded and controlled by Malia, the board had only licensed the technology, and the licensing agreement had a termination clause. Within minutes, the systems that powered Dominion's loan processing, customer interface, and security verification began to falter. ATMs glitched, online banking lagged, mobile apps crashed. At 12:37 p.m., Malia posted a video on her personal LinkedIn. She stood in front of a wide window, the New York skyline glowing behind her. "I'm Dr. Malia Jefferson. This morning, I was removed from the bank I founded. Not because I failed, but because I succeeded in a way that frightened people. They feared a black woman having too much control. But here's what they forgot. A building is not a bank. People are. Trust is. And that trust follows me." Within an hour, the video had over 10 million views. By 2 p.m., customers began transferring money out of Dominion. By 3:15 p.m., a new app launched in the App Store under the name PulseBank. Its design was sleeker, faster. Its leader, Malia Jefferson. The systems that once powered Dominion now fueled Pulse. Her vision, her technology. Her future. The next morning, media surrounded the Dominion headquarters. Malia arrived not in a Tesla, but in a bus. A city bus filled with peoples, mall business owners, single mothers, college students, and retired veterans. Real people. Dominions. Forgotten backbone. She walked up the steps with them. The front doors opened without resistance. David Reams stood in the lobby, red-faced and furious. "You don't belong here," he hissed. Malia turned to the cameras. "Actually," she said, "this entire building belongs in court." She pulled out a legal document. "I have a court order granting me temporary control over Dominion Bank while investigations are launched into illegal seizure of property, misuse of corporate funds, and violations of intellectual property agreements. Oh, and a class action lawsuit is being filed on behalf of every customer affected by the board's recent actions." A federal marshal stepped forward and handed papers to Reams. He said nothing, just stared. Malia walked past him, head high, into the boardroom. Reporters followed, cameras flashing. She stood at the head of the table and looked at the seat she had once occupied. Then she looked at the others' empty chairs, symbols of power that could be taken or given, but the power inside her could never be revoked. "You tried to erase me," she said. "But I was never just a CEO. I was the movement behind the mission. You thought you were removing me, but what you did was release me." Within weeks, PulseBank became the fastest-growing financial platform in America. Customers flooded in. Dominion stock plummeted. Board members resigned. Investigations uncovered years of suppressed reports and manipulated data, but Malia stayed quiet in victory. She didn't host a press tour or gloat on stages. Instead, she poured her time into building programs for underserved communities, launching scholarships for young Black women in STEM, and investing in global initiatives for women-owned startups. One day, at a small college in Atlanta, a young girl approached her after a keynote. "How did you do it?" The girl asked, "How did you know they couldn't beat you?" Malia smiled. "Because the harder they tried to silence me, the more I knew my voice mattered." The girl nodded. Wide-eyed, Malia walked away, her steps steady, her legacy secure. Not as the woman they tried to push out, but as the woman who walked back in and took everything. They thought she couldn't. She had been kicked out of her own bank and walked back in as the architect of something greater.